Here's what I learned, and what I tell anyone dealing with this kind of situation.
Why won't you just talk to me?
Because you'll
Someone
overreact like you always do.
This is important. Don't shut me out.
Believe them the first time. They're showing you exactly how they see you, as an option, not a priority. If someone tests whether you'll fight for their validation, decline the test entirely. The fact that they're testing you means you've already failed in their eyes. Real value doesn't audition. If someone positions themselves as a prize to be won, let them compete in their own tournament. Step out of the arena completely. Because the game is rigged, and the only winning move is not to play. I don't regret walking away.
You said this wouldn't happen again.
I know, I'm
that
sorry.
needed
Sorry isn't
the
enough. We need to fix this.
comparison
I will, I
finally
promise.
see the misalignment that was probably there all along. Look, I'm not the kind of guy who loses his mind over drama. I'm Aaron, 32, and I work in commercial insurance underwriting in Chicago. Yeah, I know. Riveting stuff, right? But here's the thing. My job is literally about calculating risk and avoiding expensive mistakes. Turns out that skill translates pretty well to relationships, too. I've got my life sorted. 2-bedroom apartment downtown, walking distance to the office, bills paid on time, investments growing, routine locked in. Nothing fancy, but solid. My girlfriend Claire, 29, works in event marketing, and honestly, she's the complete opposite. Chaotic schedule, income that bounces around like a basketball, and a personality that's, let's call it, spicy. We'd been together for 2 years, and she'd been living with me for 9 months. When she moved in, we had this agreement. I'd cover rent and utilities while she rebuilt her savings after getting wrecked between jobs. Made sense at the time. She's smart, attractive, and painfully aware of both facts. Claire has this fun little habit of disguising insults as brutal honesty, like she's doing you some massive favor by pointing out your flaws. Everything was relatively chill until about 3 months ago. She landed this new account managing events for some tech startup, and suddenly her whole vibe shifted. Now it was all after-work drinks, networking dinners, and endless stories about these high-value men in her industry. I'm not insecure, but I'm also not stupid. I can smell a pattern forming. The first red flag happened on a random Tuesday. We're eating takeout, she's scrolling Instagram, laughing at something. Then she drops this bomb. You know, some of these guys I meet are on another level. Driven, competitive, not comfortable. I asked what she meant. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "It just means some people settle too early," then gave me that tight smile. You know the one. The smile that's basically begging you to react. I didn't bite. Over the next few weeks, it got worse. She'd mentioned some founder who just bought a condo in River North, or some consultant who flew to Miami on a whim, or some 26-year-old who closed a massive deal. Every single story ended with her glancing at me, waiting for a reaction. Meanwhile, I'm grinding 50 hours a week and about to get offered a regional promotion that would move me to Denver. I hadn't told her yet because it wasn't finalized, and I don't deal in hypotheticals. But man, the timing was about to get interesting. Then came the night that nuked everything. We'd just gotten back from one of her work events. I went to support her, like a good boyfriend. She introduced me to a group of guys who spent the entire evening low-key roasting my career, calling it safe. Cool, cool. On the drive home, dead silence. We get inside, and she turns to me with this look on her face, and then she says it. It didn't mean anything. He was just better than you at a few things. I asked who. She shrugged like it was nothing. Ryan, the startup operations guy. Better network, bigger vision, more ambitious. Said it like she was leaving a Yelp review. I stood there, letting it sink in. Then I said something I hadn't planned. Then he can be better at covering your bills as well. And that's where this story really begins, folks.
She stared at me like I'd just told her the earth was flat. Like she was waiting for me to crack a smile and turn it into some joke. I didn't. Claire crossed her arms, leaning against the kitchen counter with this attitude. Wow, so that's how you're going to take that? How else should I take it? I asked, keeping my tone flat. She rolled her eyes. Classic Claire. You're so literal sometimes. I'm just saying he's better connected. He takes risks. You're comfortable. There's a difference. Comfortable? The way she said it made it sound like a terminal disease, like stability was what people settled for when they couldn't score something better. I kept my voice even. Are you unhappy? She hesitated. Not unhappy, just aware. Aware of what? That I could probably do better if I wanted to. There it was. Not anger, not even real emotion, just cold calculation. I sat through enough business meetings to recognize when someone's running a cost-benefit analysis, and right now, I was apparently coming up short. I nodded once. That's fair. Everyone can choose what they want. She blinked. That's it? That's your response? That's it, I said. I went to the bedroom and grabbed my laptop. Here's the thing. I'd already run the numbers weeks ago when the Denver promotion first came up. Salary increase of 22%, relocation assistance, title bump, more responsibility. I'd been holding off on accepting because of her. That hesitation just evaporated like morning fog. From the living room, she called out, "Are you seriously mad about this?" "No, I'm honest. I'm adjusting." She walked into the bedroom doorway. Adjusting how? I pulled up my email and typed out my formal acceptance for the Denver role. Required relocation within 60 days. I could terminate the lease with a buyout clause. Expensive, but manageable. She watched me type. "You're being dramatic." "No, I am being practical." "You would actually move over a comment?" I looked up at her. Not over a comment, over clarity. She laughed, but it was sharp, almost bitter. "You think you're proving something?" I closed the laptop. "I think you already proved it." The silence that followed wasn't explosive. It was ice cold. Claire shifted gears. She always does this when she senses control slipping away. "You know I didn't mean it like that," she said softer now, playing the backtrack card. "Ryan is just loud. It's networking talk. You're taking it too personally." "I'm not taking it personally. I'm taking it seriously." She stepped closer, trying to close the distance I'd already created mentally. "So what? You just gonna uproot everything?" I looked at her dead on. "I pay the rent here. The lease is in my name. Utilities are in my name. The car insurance we share is in my name. If uprooting happens, it'll be organized." Her face tightened, that mask slipping for just a second. "You're unbelievable." "No, I'm consistent." She stared at me for a long time, trying to calculate whether I was bluffing. I wasn't. And for the first time since we started dating, I saw something new behind her irritation. Uncertainty. Because up until that moment, I'd always absorbed the criticism. Always stayed steady, always provided, always been the reliable guy. This time, I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I simply chose. And she had absolutely no idea yet how final that choice was. Game recognizes game, and I just changed the rules. The next morning felt weirdly normal on the surface. I woke up at 6, made coffee, checked emails. Denver HR had already replied, confirming the promotion package and timeline. 60 days to relocate, 30 days to formally terminate the lease with a buyout equal to 2 months' rent. Clean. Expensive, but clean. Claire rolled into the kitchen around 7 wearing one of my old college sweatshirts, acting like nothing significant had happened the night before. "Are we still on for dinner with Emily Friday?" she asked casually, opening the fridge. "No," I said, voice calm as still water. "We should probably start figuring out logistics instead." She shut the fridge a little harder than necessary. "Logistics of what?" "I'm filing the lease termination today." She laughed, but there was zero humor in it. "You still on that?" I slid the printed lease agreement across the counter like I was closing a business deal. Paragraph 12, early termination clause. I already emailed the property manager. Will owe 2 months. I'll handle it. She caught that word immediately. "We owe it," she said automatically, like a reflex. "No, I owe it. It's my lease." Her jaw tightened, that irritation bubbling up again. "So you're just deciding for both of us?" "I'm deciding for myself. You can decide what you want to do." She stepped closer, voice rising. "You're acting like I cheated on you or something." "I didn't accuse you of cheating." "Then why are you blowing up our life?" I looked her straight in the eye.
Because I'm not going to compete for my own relationship. That one landed hard. She crossed her arms defensively. I wasn't making you compete. You were motivating me by telling me another man is better? At a few things, she snapped. God, you're so sensitive. I held eye contact without flinching. No, I'm selective about what I tolerate. That was the first time I saw actual anger replace her usual condescension. You know what your problem is, Aaron. You're too comfortable. You think being stable is enough. Some of us want more. Then go get more, I said evenly. The room went dead quiet. She looked at me like she was waiting for the part where I apologized, where I reassured her, where I said I'd work harder, earn more, be louder, be different. That part never came. Instead, I went to my desk and transferred the lease buyout funds from savings to checking. 2 clicks. Done. Then I removed her as an authorized user on my credit card. We'd added her 6 months ago to help build her credit. That ended in under 30 seconds. She watched from the hallway, disbelief written all over her face. Are you serious right now? Yes. You're punishing me. No, I'm separating finances before things get messy. Messy? How? I turned to face her. If you think there are better options out there, you should be free to explore them without financial overlap. Her face flushed red. So you're just giving up? I shook my head slowly. I'm declining to audition. And that's when the tone shifted completely. She realized I wasn't reacting emotionally. I was exiting strategically. And she hadn't prepared for that version of me. Not the emotional Aaron who could be pushed and prodded, but the calculated Aaron who runs numbers and eliminates risk. The one who just decided she was a liability worth cutting loose. By noon, the property manager confirmed the lease termination terms in writing. 30 days notice, 2 months rent penalty, final walkthrough required. Professional, clean, done. I forwarded the email to Claire. She responded with a single message from the other room. You're insane. I walked into the living room where she was sitting on the couch, laptop open but untouched. Clearly not working, just stewing in her own thoughts. This doesn't have to be dramatic, I said. You have 30 days to figure out where you want to go. Where I want to go? She repeated, voice dripping with disbelief. Like this is some solo adventure? It is, I said simply. She stared at me, then scoffed. You think I'm moving in with Ryan or something? I shrugged. I don't think anything. You said he's better at a few things. Maybe housing is one of them. That hit way harder than I expected. Her face went pale, then red. You're being petty now. No, I'm being consistent with your logic. She stood up abruptly, pacing. I was pushing you. That's what couples do. They push each other to grow. I nodded, and I responded by growing in a direction that aligns with me. You're running away. From what? Competition? Ambition? I looked at her evenly. I'm accepting a regional leadership role in another state. That's not running. She blinked hard, the pieces finally clicking together. You actually accepted it? Yes. When were you going to tell me? When it was finalized. It is now. Her expression shifted, this time to something closer to genuine disbelief mixed with fear. So you had this lined up and didn't say anything? I don't operate on hypotheticals, I said matter-of-factly, because it wasn't confirmed. She paced across the living room once, then stopped. You know what this feels like? It feels like you were waiting for an excuse. I shook my head. No, I was waiting for clarity, and I got it. She stopped pacing, trying to regroup. So that's it? 2 years and you just pack up? 2 years where I covered rent, utilities, most groceries, and half your car repairs when your transmission failed. I didn't complain. I chose it. She flinched at the numbers being laid out like that. This isn't about money. It's not, I agreed. But money shows commitment, and I won't subsidize someone who thinks they can upgrade. The word upgrade clearly stung. Her voice went up an octave. You're twisting what I said. I'm applying it. She went quiet then, which was rare for Claire. She usually fills space with noise, arguments, deflections. When she gets quiet, it means she's recalculating her approach. After a full minute of silence, she tried a different angle. "You're overreacting because your ego is bruised," she said, softer now, like she'd found some vulnerability to exploit. "No," I said calmly. "If my ego were bruised, I'd try to compete. I'd try to prove I'm better than Ryan." I paused deliberately for effect. I don't compete for access to my own girlfriend. That's when the first real crack showed. Not anger, fear, because she was starting to realize this wasn't a fight she could win by being louder or sharper or more manipulative. It wasn't a fight at all. It was a withdrawal. And withdrawals don't argue. They don't negotiate. They simply happen, like closing a bank account. Click, done, goodbye. That evening, Claire tried a completely different strategy. Charm. She ordered sushi from my favorite place without asking. She lit the candles we usually save for anniversaries. She wore that black dress she knew I liked. I watched the whole performance with professional detachment, like I was observing a case study. "We don't have to blow this up," she said softly, sitting across from me at the dining table. "I was frustrated. I see all these high-level guys every day. It gets in your head." "That's fair," I said. She looked relieved, like she'd finally found the right angle. "Right? But frustration doesn't justify comparison," I continued, cutting her off, "especially not framed as deficiency." She leaned forward, trying to close the distance. "I wasn't saying you're deficient. I was saying you could push harder." "I already push in the direction I value." "Which is safe," she shot back. "Which is stable," I corrected. She sighed dramatically, like I was being deliberately difficult. "You know what I mean." "No, I don't. Define it." She hesitated, searching for words. "Bigger risks, bigger visibility, bigger circles." "And if I don't want those circles?" "Then you're limiting yourself." "Or I'm choosing intentionally." She stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. "You don't want more?" she said slowly, like she couldn't compute it. "I want aligned growth, not growth for applause." That silence came back again, thick and uncomfortable. She switched strategies yet again. "So what, you just going to throw away everything because I mentioned one guy?" "No," I said calmly. "I'm stepping away because you revealed how you evaluate me." "You're overthinking this." "No, I'm listening carefully." She pushed her plate away, frustration finally breaking through. "You're making me feel like the villain here." I shrugged slightly. "I didn't assign roles. You described alternatives." Her eyes narrowed dangerously. "So you're just going to abandon me?" "I am relocating for a promotion. You are free to come if you want to build with me." She sat back, blinking. "That's the first time you've said that." "Because I needed to know if you actually wanted that." She recovered quickly, always good at pivoting. "Denver isn't Chicago. I've built connections here." "Connections like Ryan?" Her jaw tightened again. Bullseye. "This is about control for you, isn't it?" "No, it's about self-respect." I paused for emphasis. "If you believe someone else is better suited for the life you want, you should pursue that, without financial cushioning from me." Her face flushed red, anger mixed with something else. Embarrassment, maybe. "You're making it transactional." "It already was," I said quietly. "I was just the only one funding it." That hurt her more than any yelling ever could have, because it was calm, because it was factual, because it wasn't emotional. It was just math. She stood up abruptly, chair scraping against the floor. "Fine, maybe I do want more than this." "Then go get it," I said evenly. And that's when she said the line that confirmed absolutely everything I already knew. "You'll regret letting me walk." I looked at her without flinching, without emotion, without hesitation. "No, I'll regret staying where I'm compared." That was the moment something in her shifted from irritation and manipulation to genuine panic, because she finally understood what I'd been saying all along. I wasn't threatening. I wasn't posturing. I wasn't trying to win an argument. I was done negotiating. The door was closing, and she was on the wrong side of it. The next 2 days were weird. Not peaceful, just quiet in the way of building feels after someone's already decided to sell it. Claire stopped arguing. She stopped provoking. Instead, she became overly pleasant, which was somehow worse. She asked about my day. She offered to cook. She even mentioned Denver casually, like she was warming up to the idea, testing the waters to see if I'd bite. I didn't engage emotionally. I answered politely. I moved forward administratively. I scheduled the movers. I booked a short-term furnished place in Denver to start. I emailed HR confirming my relocation timeline. Every day, another box checked. Every day, another step closer to the exit. On Thursday night, she tried again. "I've been thinking," she said, sitting next to me on the couch, voice soft, almost vulnerable. "About what?" I asked, not looking up from my laptop. "Maybe I was too harsh the other night." I looked at her. "Okay." She took a breath. "I didn't mean better like overall better, just different strengths, you know." "Strengths you prefer," I said flatly. She hesitated. "I prefer ambition." I held eye contact. "I'm being promoted to oversee 3 states. That's ambition. It just doesn't look flashy." She exhaled slowly, realizing she'd walked into that one. "It's not flashy," she admitted quietly. "So the issue isn't ambition," I said. "It's optics." That word clearly bothered her. "It's not about optics." "Then what is it?" She looked down at her hands, playing with her ring, nervous habit. "When I'm at those events," she said, lowering her voice like she was confessing something, "I feel like I'm surrounded by momentum. Everyone's building something loud, fast, big. And sometimes I feel like I'm dating someone who's already arrived." I considered that for a moment. I am stable. I am structured. I am not chasing noise. She looked up, frustrated. "Ryan talks about exits, equity, scaling. You talk about risk management and sustainable growth. Because most loud growth collapses. That's why I still have a job and half those startups won't exist in 3 years." She stared at me with this mix of frustration and something else. Maybe respect? Maybe resentment? "You always sound so reasonable." "That's not an insult." "No," she said quietly. "It's just not exciting." There it was, finally. Not betrayal, not cheating, not even cruelty. Just plain old boredom. "You're bored with stability," I said, not as a question, but as a statement of fact. "I don't know." "I do." She looked up sharply. "You don't get to define how I feel." "I'm not defining it. I'm interpreting patterns. That's literally what I do for a living." She leaned back against the couch, deflating. "So what happens now?" "I move in 30 days. You decide whether you're coming or staying." "And if I stay?" I met her eyes. "I hope Ryan is better at a few more things." She flinched again at hearing her own words thrown back. "You're going to keep throwing that back at me, aren't you?" "No," I said simply. "I'm going to keep believing it." Silence settled between us like fog. This wasn't dramatic anymore. No shouting, no tears, just 2 adults realizing they want completely different atmospheres. The difference was that she expected me to fight for her approval. Instead, I stepped out of the audition. And that's when she made one last desperate attempt to regain control. She picked up her phone, scrolling casually, too casually. "You know," she said lightly, not looking at me, "Ryan actually asked if I wanted to grab drinks tomorrow. I told him maybe." She watched me carefully, waiting for the reaction, waiting for jealousy, anger, possession, anything that would confirm I still cared enough to fight. I nodded once. "Then you should go." Her composure cracked like thin ice because she wanted jealousy. What she got was permission, and permission is the opposite of caring. It's indifference dressed up as freedom. "Wait, what?" She looked genuinely confused. "I said you should go. If you need to explore that option, explore it." She stared at me like I'd just spoken in tongues. "You're really okay with this?" "I'm not in charge of your choices." "That's not what I asked." I looked at her evenly. "If you need external validation to measure your value, go get it. I'm not stopping you." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You're being cold." "No, I'm being clear." She left around 7 on Friday night, got dressed like it was a presentation, new heels, hair done differently, subtle but intentional. I didn't comment, didn't react, just went back to reviewing relocation paperwork. Around 9:30, my phone buzzed. Her name lit up the screen. "We're just talking," she texted. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, "You don't care at all, do you?" Still nothing from me. At 11:15, she came home. Her makeup was slightly smudged, not dramatic, just enough to show the night ran long. She stood in the kitchen watching me work on my laptop like she was waiting for an explosion. "Say something," she finally demanded. "How was it?" I asked, tone completely neutral. She hesitated. "Fine. Good? That's it?" "That's it." She stepped closer, searching my face for any crack in the armor. "He asked why you weren't threatened by this." I raised an eyebrow. "And what did you say?" "I said you're confident." "Accurate," I nodded. She searched my face harder. "He's intense," she said quietly, almost like a warning or a comparison. "You like intense sometimes?" I asked, more statement than question. She nodded slowly, still watching me. Then she delivered the line she thought would finally provoke me, would finally make me react like a normal, jealous boyfriend. "He said if I were single, he'd take me to Miami next weekend." I didn't blink. "And what did you say?" She swallowed slightly, clearly not expecting this calm. "I said I wasn't single." I held her gaze, unwavering. "But you're considering it." She didn't answer immediately. That silence confirmed more than any words could have. I stood up, closing my laptop with a soft click. "I've scheduled movers for 3 weeks from now. You should start figuring out your plan." Her eyes widened. "You're not even going to ask if something happened tonight?" I looked at her with something close to pity. "If something happened, you would have framed it as my fault already. That's your pattern." She stared at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. "You've changed." "No," I corrected. "I stopped negotiating my worth." "That's so dramatic." "No," I said calmly. "It's efficient." Her composure finally cracked for the first time. Really cracked. "So what? You're just emotionally checked out now?" "I'm financially and logistically separating. Emotion follows clarity, not the other way around." She stepped back like I'd physically pushed her. "You're really willing to lose me over this?" I shook my head slightly. "You positioned yourself as something to win. I don't chase prizes that compare me to other contestants."
The following week wasn't dramatic at all. It was purely administrative. Claire stopped mentioning Ryan entirely. No more comparisons, no more subtle digs, no more tests. Just quiet observation while I systematically organized my exit like I was closing a business deal. Movers confirmed. Lease termination signed. Security deposit forfeited. Utilities scheduled for cancellation. My new reporting structure in Denver finalized. Every single day, another item checked off the list. Momentum replaced tension. On Tuesday night, she tried one last pivot. "If I came with you," she asked carefully, testing the waters, "would this just go back to normal?" "No," I said immediately. She blinked. "Why not?" "Because normal included comparison. I won't build on that foundation." She crossed her arms defensively. "You're acting like I cheated on you." "No, I'm acting like I listened. There's a difference." She paced once across the room, clearly frustrated. "You don't even want to try to fix this?" "There's nothing broken," I said calmly. "We just want different atmospheres, different lives." That irritated her more than anything. "So that's it? 2 years and you're just done?" "Yes." The single word landed harder than any argument we'd had. She stared at me like she was waiting for a crack, some hesitation, some emotional reversal, some sign that I was just posturing and would eventually cave. It didn't come. "You're really willing to lose me over pride?" she asked, voice rising. "It's not pride, it's alignment. And we're not aligned anymore, if we ever were. You'd rather start over somewhere else?" "Yes." Silence stretched between us like a rubber band about to snap. Then she tried the very last angle she had left in her playbook. "Ryan invited me to Miami next weekend," she said, watching my face carefully. I nodded once. "You should go." Her jaw tightened. "You're not even jealous." "No." She searched my face desperately, clearly looking for something she could push against, some button she could press to get a reaction. "You're just walking away from 2 years like it means nothing?" I picked up a folder with the relocation documents and set it on the table between us. Physical evidence. Real consequences. "I'm not walking away. I'm walking forward. There's a difference." She shook her head slightly, disbelief written all over her face. "You'll regret this." I looked at her one last time. "No, I'd regret staying where I'm measured against other options, where I'm comfortable instead of valued." That was the end of it. No shouting, no crying, no dramatic music swelling in the background. She packed a week later and moved in with a friend temporarily. I covered the final rent and closed out the utilities like I was settling any other account. We spoke only about logistics, where to send her mail, who got which furniture. Division of assets. Clean and simple. 3 weeks later, I handed the keys to the property manager. 4 weeks later, I started in Denver. New city, new role, new life. Claire texted once after I moved. Simple message. "You really did it?" "Yes," I replied. That was the entire exchange. No hostility, no reconciliation, no lingering thread to pull on later. Clean break. Surgical. She wanted momentum and intensity. I wanted stability and respect. When she told me someone else was better at a few things, I believed her, and I chose not to compete. If he's better, he can be better at everything, including the bills. And that was the last time I needed to say anything about it. Case closed.
The first week in Denver was clean. New office, new team, different altitude, literally and figuratively. I signed paperwork, reviewed regional accounts, and stepped into a role that required complete focus. The quiet felt earned, like a reward for making the hard decision. Claire texted twice that first week. First message, "I didn't think you'd actually go through with it." Second message, 2 days later, "Ryan isn't what I thought." I didn't respond to either. Radio silence. By Friday, she escalated. "Can we talk?" I stared at that message for a full minute. This is the part where most people drag it out, the late-night call, the emotional closure conversation, the half-hearted apology that doesn't really mean anything. I don't do half measures. I replied once, "There's nothing left to discuss." She called immediately. I let it ring out, watched it go to voicemail, deleted it without listening. A minute later, "You're really just going to erase me?" I typed carefully, choosing each word. "You evaluated alternatives. I accepted that evaluation. End of discussion." "That's not fair," she shot back. I was frustrated. Frustration doesn't include auditioning replacements. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Classic indecision. Finally, "He's not serious. He talks big, that's it." I already knew that. That's not the point. Then what is the point? The point is you said someone else was better. You don't get to walk that back because the alternative underperformed. That's not how this works. Silence on her end for a solid minute. Then my phone rang again. I declined it without hesitation. Then I did what I should have done the first night she made that comparison. I blocked her number, blocked her on social media, removed her from shared cloud access, closed every single digital door. Not out of anger, out of finality. Because closure isn't a conversation, it's a boundary, and boundaries don't negotiate. 5 minutes later, a call came from an unknown number. I let it ring, then blocked that too. I don't do revolving doors. You don't compare someone to an upgrade and then expect re-entry when the upgrade glitches out. The next morning was quiet again. No notifications, no what-ifs, no emotional noise. Just work, just forward movement, just clarity. She wanted intensity and drama. She got it, just not from me. And that was the real difference between us that I finally understood completely. She chased excitement like it was oxygen. I protected stability like it was wealth. Once she framed me as optional, I treated myself as essential, and essentials don't compete for their own space.
They either get locked in or they walk away. I chose to walk. Then I locked the door behind me, changed the locks, and threw away the key. 3 weeks after I blocked her, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she'd started seeing Ryan publicly, posting photos, doing the whole social media relationship announcement thing. 2 weeks after that, apparently it ended badly. I didn't ask for details. I don't track outcomes of decisions I've already closed. Denver settled quickly. The new role demanded more travel, more oversight, more strategic calls. Exactly the kind of growth I value. Quiet leverage, real authority, no theatrics, no performance. I signed on a condo 6 months in. Nothing flashy, but good neighborhood, walking distance to the office, predictable appreciation curve. Stability compounds. That's the secret nobody wants to hear. Boring compounds. Flashy burns out. One night about 8 months after I left Chicago, I got a LinkedIn notification. Claire viewed your profile. I didn't react. No message followed. Just visibility, a digital footprint that told me everything I needed to know.
She didn't miss me. She missed access. Access to rent paid on time every month. Access to structured calm. Access to someone who didn't need to posture or perform to feel secure. Access to stability while she chased chaos. When she said someone else was better at a few things, she expected me to react emotionally, compete, defend, negotiate, beg, prove myself worthy. Instead, I adjusted the balance sheet, canceled the lease, accepted the promotion, relocated, blocked the number. That silence she felt at the end wasn't punishment, it was consequence. Natural, inevitable consequence. Here's what I learned, and what I'd tell anyone dealing with this kind of situation. If someone compares you to an alternative, believe them the first time. They're showing you exactly how they see you, as an option, not a priority. If someone tests whether you'll fight for their validation, decline the test entirely. The fact that they're testing you means you've already failed in their eyes. Real value doesn't audition. If someone positions themselves as a prize to be won, let them compete in their own tournament. Step out of the arena completely. Because the game is rigged, and the only winning move is not to play. I don't regret walking away. I regret that I needed the comparison to finally see the misalignment that was probably there all along. But once I saw it clearly, I didn't hesitate, didn't second guess, didn't look back. She wanted intensity and flash. I chose clarity and forward motion. And clarity doesn't argue. It doesn't defend itself. It just moves. Efficiently, deliberately, permanently. Then it closes the door completely. The weirdest part, I'm happier now than I was in that relationship. Not because Denver is amazing, it's fine, just a city. Not because I'm dating someone new, I'm not, and I'm not looking. I'm happier because I'm not being evaluated anymore. I'm not being compared. I'm not being measured against someone's Instagram feed of high-value men. I wake up, I go to work, I make decisions that matter, I build something real. No drama, no tests, no wondering if I'm enough today. People ask me sometimes if I miss her. The honest answer is no. I miss the idea of what I thought we were building, but that idea was based on bad data. Once I got accurate data, that I was comfortable, safe, boring, an option, the decision became obvious. You know what's funny? That promotion I took turned into 2 more promotions over the next year. That comfortable career she looked down on, it's now pulling serious money and giving me opportunities most of those flashy startup guys will never see, because half of them will flame out in 3 years. Ryan? No idea what happened to him. Don't care. Hope he's doing well. Hope he learned something from whatever went down with Claire, but it's not my story anymore. The point isn't that I won or she lost. That's not how life works. The point is that I chose myself when it became clear she was choosing options. And that choice, that one decision to believe her when she showed me who she really was, changed everything. So if you're in a situation where someone's comparing you to alternatives, testing your reaction, making you compete for basic respect, take it from me, believe them, accept it, and move forward. Don't argue, don't defend, don't try to prove you're better. Just adjust the balance sheet and close the account. Because you can't build wealth with someone who sees you as a liability.
and I'm done investing in liabilities.